Hi, it's Marco from Moose Marketing and PR, the editor of Punchline Magazine, and welcome to Punchline Talks. Today I'm joined by Esther Croft, the Development Director for Reef Development Partners for the £107 million King's Quarter regeneration project. Really exciting for the city. Esther, welcome to Punchline Talks.
Thank you very much, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Let's start at the very beginning, please. Can you tell us all about the project itself? And well, I'll leave it in your capable hands, if that's okay.
With pleasure. Mark, we've been working with the City Council for almost 4 to 5 years now, working on the redevelopment of what many people will know as King's Quarter, but we've obviously rebadged as the Forum. Reef Group's involvement with the City Council started some time ago with working with them on the repurposing of King's Walk Shopping Centre, which we're also still very much focused on and involved in. And we were attracted to the city because we genuinely believe that Gloucester is on the up. We really believe that there are plenty of opportunities for the city to both be rejuvenated and also be brought forward for the, and fit for the future. So we're really excited about the proposition, and it's taken quite a few years to get to this point, but we're now really at the point where we are starting to motor, and hopefully most of the residents of the city have seen the progress that's being made on site. There are now multiple construction sites underway, and soon to be quite a number of cranes on the horizon as well. So it's really an exciting point in the project. And what we are working with the City Council to create is a completely rejuvenated quarter of the city, located between the new bus station and also the train station, and providing a whole new campus which will be focused around office opportunities and a new 4-star hotel, a new multi-storey car park, and a very exciting new King's Square for everybody to enjoy, and to hopefully look forward to a whole sequence of events being hosted there too.
That is pretty big, let's be honest about it. We're talking about 600,000 square feet for the Forum, 125,000 square feet for the office space. The world itself has changed. You guys, when the pandemic hit, what were your thoughts, and is it still doable? Is it still viable?
It is, and it's a really interesting question. And only last week I was talking to a student who went to King's in Gloucester and is now doing a master's degree and training to become a planner. He was in his early 20s, and he asked me exactly the same question, and I kind of turned it back on him. And asked him, as a young graduate coming into a construction business, or any business really, did he think there was a future in terms of offices? Because actually, as far as I'm concerned, any business has to focus on talent retention, and talent and gaining and attracting talent. That's really their lifeblood. And if you were in your early 20s and starting your career off, I can't imagine that many people would want to be doing it from their bedroom, or even their shared kitchen table at their parents' house, because that's, let's face it, at those ages, that's quite often what is happening. So he completely agreed, and I think our view very strongly is that we've had a very much knee-jerk reaction to COVID, as you would understand, you would expect, and the pendulum possibly has swung quite far one way in terms of everybody working from home. But we genuinely anticipate that will start to fall back into a more middle and a more kind of pragmatic position. Hybrid working, flexible working isn't something that none of us have heard of before. It was here prior to the pandemic. And really what this is it just accelerated perhaps the process of spreading that kind of way of working across all industries and all sectors. So one of the ways we can factor that in, which we have done, we have a really exciting and very strong design team of some leading architects which Reef employ directly, who have been working on this project and have been making sure that the design of the building and the services and the facilities that surround it ensure that it's actually recognised as a destination in its own right. That's going to be the secret. trying to provide employees with everything they might possibly need in order to come back into working in the office environment. So, you know, the space itself needs to be welcoming. It needs to be much more accommodating in terms of breakout areas and, you know, the functions and the services and the way you know, you'll feel when you come into the space. We need to have plenty of activities. We need, you know, the yoga on the roof. We need the yoga in the center of the square. We need to make sure that those events and activities are orchestrated. And we need to make sure that that is really communicated in a really easy way. And we are looking at creating an app which will be for the whole of the forum. And so visitors to the hotel, employees based in the offices will be sent, you know, notifications. So if there is something happening in the square, if there is a special offer on one of the shop units in King's Walk, it will come through onto their phone as part of that app. They will be able to book car parking spaces. They'll be able to book hotel rooms. They'll be able to potentially book restaurant spaces at the cocktail bar on the roof, all via their phones. So that kind of smart building culture is something we think will be a very strong attractant to getting people back into working into those creative environments. And it's really interesting when you review, as I'm sure you get lots of stories coming across your desk about how some of the larger companies, and especially the tech companies like Google and Amazon, are starting to, yes, adopt and embrace a flexible working culture, but it is now coming with some constraints and some regulations and rules attached to that. And I think we'll see more of that. And that's what we've been, you know, factoring into our design process.
Now, also, there's a lot of retail in here as well. You've got restaurants, bars, shops, retail itself, a 9,000 square foot gym. On the retail side, the retail world has dramatically changed as well. Do you think with the scope and, you know, the way the city is sort of segmented at the moment, it's a tough environment for retail? We all know it. Do you think you'll be able to attract new retailers into the forum?
It is a tough environment, and there's been a huge sector change, which we've all need to embrace, and we need to think outside of the box with regard to. Yes, I think we will. We have got, with the announcement of the university taking ownership of the Debenhams building and the new city campus, which is due to come forward, the first phase of which we expect to be completed in time with our office development, so really good timing. That will bring in 4,700 students into that part of the city alone. That, combined with a sort of 1,000 to 1,200 employees when fully occupied that we expect in the office block 1 Cathedral View, that is a significant increase in footfall. And I think that human nature is such that food and beverage and opportunities, as I said, for those kind of more relaxed environments which people can potentially work within, have meetings within, I think those things will be here to stay. We are starting to see, for example, Pret, who's been badly affected by the impact on their London units and their London outlets. They are starting to look at the regional cities because they do think that there is a slight recalibration, and they want to be ahead of that kind of process. So I think that strong cities like Gloucester, which are on the up, I think will start to become more attractive, and we're confident that we'll be able to secure some really interesting options within the retail spaces within the forum. They aren't massive, Mark. We have been very careful to make sure that, you know, originally the quarter was always envisaged in planning policy terms as a extension to the retail content of the city, but that was, you know, 20 years ago, and a lot has changed. So we haven't gone over the top, but we do think that they will add to the overall attraction of the area, and that's what we need to do.
Is there a danger at all that you might suck out one bit of the city over to the other bit, you know, so that you have some businesses, what they're going to do is they might have some old buildings, they might be there for a while, and they're looking to just relocate to your place rather than creating new jobs. All you're doing is moving stuff around. How do you stop that, or do you encourage it?
Well, we're very conscious of that kind of displacement effect, and obviously the City Council, whose responsibility it is to oversee the economic growth and the planning policies that they bring to bear for the city's future, are equally very, very conscious of that. I think it's inevitable. All cities are aware now that their retail, core retail area probably does need to shrink. I mean, Gloucester's not alone in that case. And the City Council, I know, are working very hard through things like the Heritage Action Zone, Westgate improvements, and specifically looking at how some of those empty shop units and also the spaces above shops can potentially be reconverted or repurposed for residential use. And that kind of shift is something that they've been working hard to try to facilitate and to manage in a way. So it's not necessarily kind of directly our kind of role and responsibility, but we're working very carefully with the City Council to do that. And in terms of office occupiers and office spaces coming into the forum and into the new development, again, we work really closely with our partners at the City Council, and as interest comes forward, those kind of effects and the overall impact on the economic profile for the city is considered and will factor into those decisions.
Now, we've got here a 116 bedroom 4-star hotel as well. I got any partners in mind? Is that moving forward quite nicely?
I knew you were going to ask me that question, and I would love to be able to tell you, but obviously we're going through a confidential process at the moment. I can tell you, we've been really pleased. We've got interest from 4 of the main contenders that you would expect that would operate in that arena, and the conversations are really positive and really moving forward very swiftly. And same goes as well with car park operators. Again, we've got 4 of the principal main contractors that you would and operators that you would expect to see, and that we've had very positive responses from both them as well. The designs and the internal layouts for the hotels are quite well progressed, and the specifications, it's really exciting what I've seen, really high quality, and that 4-star level is definitely something that we're going to be able to achieve. I can't share them with you yet, but as you can tell hopefully from my face, it's really exciting stuff, long and much needed for the city, and we're going to be the first one out of the ground, so I think that's equally really exciting. So yeah,
I mean, Gloucester is such a need for a high quality 4-star hotel.
Absolutely.
We have the budget hotels, but it's by time we had something. It's always been a vision, isn't it, to have that
a bit of quality. We will be incorporating into that a ground floor restaurant, which will have its doors opening out onto the new entrance point to the King's Square. So really, really prominent placement, and that combined with the rooftop terrace bar. Only yesterday I was in the office looking over the shoulder of one of our principal architects at some of the 360-degree views of that new cocktail bar on the roof. Really exciting, really interesting decor, use of lighting, looking at graffiti art, which we might be able to engage some of the local artists through the cultural trust on. So lots of interesting ideas, ways we can make the hotel really bespoke and a real boutique kind of feel to it, so relevant to the city. So I'm really excited to be able to share those when they're available. Can't do it quite yet, but yeah.
What's the timescales like now, Esther? So tomorrow, I shouldn't wait tomorrow, but coming up very shortly, I think it's tomorrow, is the groundbreaking, isn't it? And after that, so what's the timescales? When is it supposed to be all complete? When is this hotel going in?
Yeah. So I mean, it's as I said, things are moving really swiftly. So everybody hopefully has seen the progress that they're making with the square, the City Council. So we're hoping the square will be finished by the end of this year, with a launch event planned for next May, which coincides with its 50th anniversary. So that's really something to look forward to. And I know they've got some really exciting plans to make that a really great community event for everybody to share in. And then, as you said, we've started on site with what we call phase 1, which is the creation of a new home for the Tesco Express, which is currently located underneath Grosvenor House, and for obvious reasons we need to find them a new home so that we can then demolish Grosvenor House and redevelop it. So that process, with 19 residential apartments and the first garden roof terrace in the city, will be finished by next July, which is in 2022. And we hope to start on site with what we describe as phase 2, which is the construction of One Cathedral View, the office block, and the ground floor gym, the car park, the multi-storey car park, and also the 4-star hotel. We hope to start on site early next year on that site, with a view to the office building being completed towards the end of 2023, and then the remainder of the site being completed through the middle of 2024. So as I said, that times really nicely with the current projected aspirational programme for the city campus with the university in the old Debenhams building. So it's going to be a very busy construction area for the next 2 to 3 years, but they are coinciding nicely together. I think in 3 to 4 years, people will see a really different space, really high quality finish, super paving, lots of interesting features, the fountains in the square, seating features as you come down through the new pedestrianised cathedral view. We've been looking at really some interesting things in the soft landscaping, lights that kind of dim and become stronger when you sit on some of the seating areas. So some really interesting elements to it. And things which I think people will find really interesting to actually, which they can engage in and they can interact with.
I mean, I recently visited Sheffield, and what they've done there is absolutely amazing. The square there and the public realm is really interesting as well. I think that's the secret, isn't it? To entice people. And it's got to be high quality. Talking about high quality costs a lot of money. Where did the £107 million coming from?
So the majority of the funding is being brought forward through the City Council, and Reef have obviously got a commitment, a financial and monetary commitment into the scheme as well. But the City Council, I think, really genuinely need to be applauded for their commitment to what is, an exceptional commitment for them, and one of the biggest kind of redevelopment and regeneration programs that the city's probably seen for over 30 years, I would think, if not a bit more. I think one of the most exciting and things that they did, and I genuinely think this is going to have a big impact on the success of the overall scheme, was making that commitment to completing the square in the first instance. And I'm sure the university would probably agree that actually the commitment they made to the square, and then the ongoing commitment to King's Walk Shopping Centre and the Forum, has been instrumental in the university making the decision to take on the Debenhams building. Confidence does beget confidence, and I think that this is really exhibiting that and providing proof that actually that is a really successful regeneration technique, and they should be applauded for it.
I totally agree. What do you mind you? It's always you spend taxpayers' money, mind you. Right.
Yeah.
But
we're very conscious of that.
we won't go into that today. How important is the Debenhams site to the whole scheme, and the fact that the university has taken it over? I know we touched on it, but the overall, you must have punched the air when you heard that, because none of us were expecting it. I'll be honest with you. So
we were working quite hard behind the scenes, Mark, if I'm honest with you, to try to bring that about, because we could see the obvious immediate benefits and impacts that it was going to bring. I mean, I often refer back to King's Cross, which obviously hugely successful in London, and one of the key kind of factors in bringing that forward and making it successful was the University of London's commitment to the arts campus in part of the site. So you cannot underestimate how important this is going to be. This, it's a magic combination of private sector businesses, students and educational facilities, and then the cultural hub in King's House. It's like a magic triangle of uses, which really, we couldn't have been more excited about. So I genuinely do believe that this will be significantly instrumental in making the whole endeavour a success. And we are working really closely with the university, not just on making sure that we're coordinated in terms of programme, or coordinated in terms of kind of contractors and sort of moving about on site. We're also working to communicate and to contribute and coordinate on the social value that can be created, the apprenticeship and the job opportunities, the skills opportunities. So we've had lots of conversations about how we can combine our efforts there to really maximise the opportunities for the local community and help them to upskill, to take advantage of these opportunities as they develop over the next 4 to 5 years. So we think there's some really interesting synergies there. We've had conversations about the Forge, which we haven't talked about, which is the innovation and the incubation centre, which our sister company Digital Reef are bringing forward. And we just think that combination of skills development, young SMEs, and creating that environment to attract those young SMEs will then have a knock-on impact for larger occupiers and create almost like an ecosystem in its own right. And I know the university, I think, are equally excited about the crossovers that they can have, because they're looking to host their education department there. So there's CPD opportunities for existing occupiers I want to try and harness, as well as even just at the simple level, the construction opportunities. They've got higher level apprenticeships, which in the construction sector, which we can help to try and link up with the main contractor when they're on site building out the forum. So lots and lots of stuff to kind of work through and exploit, to be honest, in the truest sense. And
talking about exploiting, obviously businesses all want to grab their fair share of the pie, so we say. It's a great opportunity for lots of other companies in the area. So you've got E.G. Carter, who are the main contractor to build the site. It's fantastic you're using a local company and a fantastic local company at that. How do you ensure that they use localized subcontractors, or do you have a say how many subcontractors you use, and how do they get in touch?
No, we do. So we have been very careful. All of the contracts that are being let within the forum will have to adhere to the City Council's social value policy, which and what that means is that before they start the works, they have to agree to a programme of social value outputs, which they are expected to achieve. And those outputs include things like they need to satisfy a certain percentage of their subcontractors from within the local area. They have to try to provide apprenticeship opportunities for a certain number of individuals within the local area. And we have been very careful to make sure that those requirements are also fed into the main contractor appointment, which we're going through the process of now. So for example, I've also made it a requirement that the contractor will have to provide a social and a community engagement manager in a full-time capacity for the length of the construction process. And so that role I see very much being that they will be that conduit for local subcontractors or businesses that want to try and be involved potentially in the construction stage initially, but I'd like to then roll that through further, as occupiers and as the buildings are completed. So you can tell it's something I'm really, really passionate about, and we're working really hard to make sure that those opportunities are available for everyone.
I mean, it's fantastic, actually. It's just going to be so fantastic. You've got the railway station being done up. Obviously, the transportation hub is done. We'll have the forum, the King Square. We've got the quays, we've got the docks. It's all starting to come together. What's happening at Blackfriars, the regeneration of Lansley Priory. Yep. It really is a city on the up. I really feel it as well. We've got so much more to offer than some of the smaller cities around. In fact, I honestly believe that we are the greatest smaller city in the UK. We just got to believe in it, don't we?
Well, and I think sometimes, what we've perhaps been, it's happening on the ground now. So you can actually back that up with activity, and with, it's always the same way. People just, constantly feel that it's not happening, it will never happen. It is happening. You can see it. It's on the ground now. So I completely agree with you. I mean, the other thing I'd point out as well is obviously the great news that the rugby club are bringing their training facility literally a stone's throw away from the forum. So that's another key partner that we're working really closely with. And obviously the 4-star hotel is something we're really keen that they will use and be able to utilize for their visiting teams. And I genuinely want to see players at the end of matches not disappearing off into other environments, not to be named, but actually coming to the roof of the forum building and the new hotel, and being at that cocktail bar. I mean, that's what we want to try and achieve. So keeping that activity and that vibrancy within the city, and changing its perception, or the perception of it, I hope. So no, I agree with you.
Well, I'm looking forward to wearing a little black tux and standing there having a cocktail, hopefully with you very soon, Esther, well, 3 years' time. Very quickly, let's just go talk about you personally, if that's okay. How long have you worked for Reef, and where are you from originally?
So I've been working with Reef for 3 years. My goodness, time has flown, because when you asked me that question, I think, goodness, it feels like it was just a blink of an eye, but it has been 3 years this summer. And then previous to that, I was working for a consultancy firm called LDA Design. They are a firm of master planners and urban designers, and I was working with them to provide delivery expertise effectively into local authorities to help them to deliver these really exciting physical regeneration projects. So that was what I was doing before that.
And where are you from originally? For obviously you're not from Gloucestershire, you live down in Bristol, Taunton way, isn't it?
As you can probably tell from my accent, Mark, yes, Somerset, and have sort of was born in Somerset and have still stayed located there, despite the fact that I've worked in most areas of the southwest and the southeast at various points in my career. So yes, I was asked that question actually recently by somebody else, whether I saw that as an advantage or a disadvantage, I genuinely believe that it's a benefit, because sometimes I can sort of look at the city and stand back from it slightly, I think that helps me to keep a wider, a bigger view, really. But I'm so, obviously you can tell, hugely committed to the city. I've worked in various guises and for various different companies on the city's regeneration for over 15 years. So I take this personally, as you can tell, and want to see it as success.
Well, that's exactly the same here with the business community. We are very, very passionate about it. We love the city. I don't think you can go anywhere else where you have such a commitment from the business community. I think that's what makes it so special. Did you always want to be in planning? Did you always want to, when you were a child in school, what did you want to do?
It's I'm like you, I'm always fascinated by the ways in which people get into their careers. I was only talking to my 14-year-old son about this the other day. I wanted to be a vet when I was his age at 14, and then sort of swiftly realized that actually it was going to require some pretty significant A-level results, and although I did well, maybe not necessarily quite that well, and then consequently I've always sort of lived in a rural community. So originally I wanted to work in planning and development in the rural community, and I found, if I'm honest, that a bit limiting. So although that's where I started sort of my very early career, I then very quickly moved into the commercial world, and then fell into regeneration and development through working for the regional development agencies, which is something which I know Gloucester, hope some people will remember, because that was instrumental in bringing forward the docks, and also a whole variety of different things which they did for the city, including the bridge over the canal. So that was done through the RDAs as well, and I loved my time working for the RDAs.
People don't realise the Southwest Bypass. The Southwest Bypass, the Canal Corridor,
Absolutely.
the Gloucester Railway Triangle, the docks we spoke about, the Gloucester Quays, all that was from the RDA and the Gloucester Urban Regeneration Company, which I was a very proud board member of as well. So I've been on that journey slightly with you as well. I've got to wrap it up, unfortunately. The time goes so fast in these interviews. So I've just got a couple more questions. What's your favourite film, Esther?
Oh my God, what, you didn't tell, oh Lord, let me think. What is my favourite film? Do you know what, Mark? I probably, this is going to sound terrible, but probably, if I'm being really honest, I've always loved Chalet Girl, which you probably have never heard of before, and it's really girly. But I just,
what did you say?
Chalet Girl. Shouldn't admit to that really, but it's a real feel good. It's a UK made film. And it's a really girly film, but it's just a lovely, and I love skiing, so it's just, I don't know, I've always loved it. I can't believe you asked me that, and I can't believe I answered with that.
No worries. Okay, what's your favorite album of all time? What's your go-to album?
Oh goodness, at the moment I am really enjoying, oh my Lord, no, again you're gonna have to, do you know, I don't necessarily have, what I love is Spotify, and I have a really, I just, that's been one of the best inventions, I think, in the 21st century. So I have a really generic kind of selection and choice. Dermot Kennedy I quite like, yeah, I suppose, yeah, that's probably, you know, I wouldn't be able to name any of them off the top of my head. It's just individual songs.
No worries at all. I've got some favourite groups, but it's not my show. What is your top 3 business tips, please?
Okay, so you know, this, I suppose, again, I'm trying to, you can tell for me, people, and you know, this is a people business, and I'm very much a people person. So my tips really kind of focus, I suppose, on that. And I think one thing I feel really strongly about is you should always be passionate in anything that you do and put 100% into it. And I think sometimes, sadly, in the business world, people are really afraid to show enthusiasm. I don't know why. I think they perceive that as maybe a weakness. I don't know. But I think actually, if you share your enthusiasm, I think there's nothing more motivating for teams that you're working with. So I'm always very, hopefully that comes across. Avoid burning bridges. It's a very small world. You know, although I'm reasonably long in the tooth, but not hopefully that long in the tooth, it's amazing how frequently you come back up against or working with people that you've worked with in the past. So I think that's a really important point. And then the other thing is always treating people the same and respect. I think that no matter what level they're at in their career, no matter what career they're from, I'm really do believe that you should treat people the way you want to be treated. And I think that stands you in very good stead, again, in terms of hopefully people believing that you've got integrity and helping to your reputation as a whole.
I've done something there. Esther Croft, thanks ever so much for joining us today on Punchline Talks. I hope it goes well. Bye.
Bye.